The base didn't sleep. It never did. Even at night, generators hummed, boots scuffed down corridors, and radios cracked with coded voices. But in Mara's quarters, silence was thick enough to feel alive. She sat on the edge of her cot, elbows on her knees, the photo balanced in her hands like it might shatter. The hum of the fluorescent light above buzzed faintly, but her focus tunneled until all she could hear was her own heartbeat. Elena. Her sister's name was a wound and a balm all at once, a whisper that had haunted dreams she never admitted to anyone. For years, she had carried Elena's absence like an anchor tied around her soul. And now proof, not only alive but tied to this war. Her mind raced. Was Elena a captive, a pawn, or something worse, drawn into the orbit of the very men Mara had sworn to fight? She closed her eyes. Memory came uninvited. The smell of burning wood. The scream of her mother's voice, cut short. The sight of Elena's small hand slipping from hers in the chaos, swallowed by the crush of fleeing villagers. The sound of boots, shouts in a language Mara couldn't understand back then. And then silence. When she woke the next day, her world had already been rewritten. She joined the military years later, not out of patriotism but out of vengeance. And when vengeance turned hollow, she stayed out of discipline, out of the belief that if she gave her life, maybe it would mean something. But now, meaning had a face again. A fragile hope, a dangerous one. She pressed the photo to her lips, a kiss barely there before tucking it beneath her pillow. Then she straightened, drawing in a breath that burned. She knew one thing: she couldn't let anyone else find out. Not yet. If her team knew Elena was her blood, they would see it as compromise, weakness, conflict of interest. They would pull her from missions, and Mara couldn't risk that. This was hers to carry, alone. The next morning came without softness. Alarms blared, boots hit concrete, orders barked down steel corridors. Mara joined the flow, helmet under her arm, face set in its usual calm mask. In the mess hall, Reyes spotted her. He hesitated, then walked over, tray clattering slightly in his hands. He sat across from her, eyes flicking up, then down. "You saved me back there," he said quietly. Mara didn't respond right away. She tore a piece of bread, chewed, swallowed. Then finally, "You saved yourself, you got back up." His throat bobbed. "I froze, I would've." "Doesn't matter." Her tone was flat, but her gaze softened just enough to hold him steady. "What matters is you're still breathing. Learn from it." He nodded, but his eyes stayed on her longer than she liked, searching, maybe for approval, maybe for answers. Mara shifted her tray aside and stood. "Eat, you'll need it." She walked out before he could reply. But inside, a flicker stirred. He reminded her of Elena. The same restless eyes, the same hunger for guidance no one had time to give. It unsettled her more than gunfire ever could. By late afternoon, the commander called for her. His office was small, walls lined with maps and faded photos of men long gone. He sat behind his desk, elbows resting heavy, eyes sharp but weary. "Captain Vance," he said, "you were right last night again." She inclined her head. "Just doing my job, sir." His gaze lingered on her too long. "That's the thing, Mara. You always do more than your job. You see things others miss, but you never step forward until I ask. Why is that?" Her jaw tightened. She hated questions that cut too close. "Silence has its uses, sir." The commander leaned back, studying her. Then he sighed. "Another mission's coming, higher risk. Intel suggests the safe house we hit was just a decoy. Real command is deeper, further east. I want you on it. More than that, I want you leading recon." Her heart thudded once, hard. Recon east meant closer to where Elena might be. "Yes, sir," she said, voice steady. But inside, storms swirled. This was it, the thread pulling tighter, leading her toward a truth she wasn't ready to face. The commander dismissed her. She walked out, boots striking the hall in rhythm with her racing thoughts. She didn't notice Reyes watching from the corner, eyes following her like a shadow. That night Mara stood outside under the desert sky. The air was cool, dry, heavy with dust. The horizon stretched forever, a black sea pierced by stars. She let the silence press in. She had always drawn strength from it, but tonight silence wasn't comfort, it was weight. She thought of Alina. Where was she now? Was she safe? Did she remember Mara's face? Or had the years carved her into someone unrecognizable? Mara closed her eyes. The garden in her chest bloomed painfully, hope and fear tangled, roots digging into her ribs. Storms behind her eyes, hope inside her chest. She was both soldier and sister now, and she didn't know which would break her first. Somewhere in the dark, a voice whispered, not real, just memory. Her father again. Sometimes dignity doesn't speak, it simply acts. Her eyes opened. The mission ahead wasn't just orders anymore. It was personal, and personal meant dangerous. But she would carry it, quietly, silently, until the moment came when silence could no longer protect her. And as the night stretched on, Mara stood alone, eyes lifted to the stars, chest heavy with storms and hope. A soldier to her team, a sister to her secret. A garden unbroken, waiting to bloom in the heart of war. Why did her hands shake when no one was watching? Mara sat at the edge of her cot, tightening the straps on her vest. Every buckle, every seam adjusted with mechanical precision. She was always steady, always controlled. Yet tonight, just before departure, her fingers betrayed her. She exhaled once, slow, forcing stillness back into them. The door banged open. Reyes filled the frame, helmet under one arm, rifle slung low. He hesitated, as if unsure if he had the right to step inside. "They're staging," he said. "I'll be there," Mara replied, her tone clipped, dismissive. But Reyes didn't leave. He lingered, eyes searching hers. "You don't get nervous, do you?" Her head lifted, gaze cutting to him. "Everyone gets nervous. The trick is making sure it doesn't matter." He almost smiled at that, almost. Then he nodded, finally stepping out. Mara stood, checking her gear one last time. Her mind whispered Alina's name like a curse she couldn't silence. If the photo was real, if her sister was here, eastward, closer than she had dared imagine, this mission wasn't reconnaissance anymore. It was destiny pulling her forward. She killed the thought before it softened her. Soldiers didn't move on hope. Soldiers moved on orders. The trucks rumbled east at dusk, engines growling low against the desert floor. Dust plumed in their wake, staining the sky copper. Mara rode in the back, goggles pulled tight, rifle across her lap. Beside her, Reyes adjusted his gear too often, as though each movement could quiet his nerves. Across from them, Corporal Hayes leaned against the side rail, chewing on a toothpick, eyes narrowed against the fading light. "Another night in paradise," Hayes muttered. "If I ever make it home, first thing I'm buying is a bed with sheets. White sheets, clean." The others chuckled, some bitter, some tired. Even Mara allowed a thin smile, though she said nothing. Reyes asked, "Why white?" Hayes shrugged. "Because here everything's brown, black, blood red. I want white. A bed that says war didn't follow me home." Silence followed. A silence too heavy for a joke. Mara studied Hayes, the lines on his face deeper than his years. She wondered what ghosts he carried in his sheets. The convoy slowed. Command gave word. They were approaching the insertion zone. Mara's heart ticked harder. Every mile east meant closer to the unknown. The trucks halted, engines cut. The desert swallowed the noise. Mara stepped out, boots crunching softly on sand. The air was cooler now, edged with the chill of night. Above, the stars blinked down, endless and merciless. The team spread, adjusting night vision goggles, checking weapons, falling into practiced formation. "Captain Vance," the commander's voice rasped in her earpiece. "You've got point. Take your team, sweep North Ridge. Report contact." "Yes, sir," Mara replied. Her voice didn't waver. But inside she carried more than orders. The ridge was jagged, littered with boulders like broken teeth. Mara led with careful steps, every movement deliberate, rifle raised, eyes scanning shadows. The desert was never empty. It only pretended. Reyes followed close, too close. She held up a hand once, forcing him back a few paces. He nodded, chastened. They moved in silence, the kind that amplifies breath, the crunch of boots, the whisper of fabric. Mara's pulse thrummed, but her mind was sharper than fear. Halfway up the ridge she froze, hand raised. The team dropped instantly, knees bent, rifles ready. Through her scope she saw it, faint light glimmering from a cave mouth ahead. Not firelight, not steady, the flicker of equipment. "Eyes," she whispered. They spread, encircling the approach. Mara crept forward, the cave looming larger, its darkness like a throat swallowing stars. Inside the glow came clearer. A lantern, a radio set, and voices, low, tense, foreign. She raised a fist signaling halt. Her team crouched, waiting. She listened, strained. Words carried faint, indistinct, but one cut through. A name, Elena. Mara's blood iced. She almost moved then, almost burst forward without thought. But discipline, iron forged through years, held her back. She forced breath, forced stillness, though her chest screamed. Her team waited for her call. They didn't hear the name. Only she did. She signaled retreat, slow, quiet, not yet. The men inside never knew how close death had come. They regrouped behind the ridge. Reyes scowled. "We had them dead to rights, why pull back?" Mara's face was stone, too exposed, no cover if more inside, not worth losing people. Reyes spat into the sand, but he didn't argue further. Orders were orders. Reyes, though, lingered as the others moved. His voice dropped. "That wasn't it, was it?" Mara's gaze snapped to him, sharp, dangerous. He lifted his hand slightly. "I saw your face, heard something, recognized something." Her pulse thudded. For a moment she considered lying, dismissing, but his eyes, young, searching, reminded her too much of Elena. She hated that weakness. "Drop it, Reyes," she said finally. Her tone cut like steel. He held her stare, then nodded slowly, but doubt lingered in his eyes as they turned back to base. Hours later, reports filed, maps updated, the team dispersed into restless sleep. Mara sat alone again, back against a wall, rifle across her knees. She replayed the moment in the cave over and over, each echo of Elena's name slicing deeper. Was it real, or did her mind conjure what her heart longed for? She thought of her sister's face in the photo, of the voice she thought she heard, and wondered if hope was a gift or a trap. Her silence felt heavier than ever, a secret she couldn't share, not with Reyes, not with Reyes, not with anyone. Because the moment she spoke Elena's name aloud, it would change everything. And soldiers couldn't afford to change everything. Not yet. Morning broke pale and thin. The team readied again, weary but disciplined. The commander called for her once more. "You've seen the ridge, what's your read?" Mara kept her voice steady. "Small cell. Equipment suggests they're relaying information, not leading, but they're linked to something bigger, further east." The commander studied her. "Further east means deeper risk." "Yes, sir." "You think it's worth it?" Her pause was almost imperceptible. Then, "Yes, sir." He nodded, satisfied. "Then we move tonight." Mara saluted, turned, walked out, her face calm, her chest a storm. Every step forward dragged her closer to a truth she wasn't ready to face, and a hope she couldn't kill. That night before departure, Reyes found her again. "You ever think," he said quietly, "that the war we're fighting out here isn't just theirs? That maybe it's ours too, inside?" She looked at him, really looked, the desert wind tugging at her hair. For a second she almost told him, almost let the garden of hope spill into words. But silence won again. "Gear up," she said instead, turning away. And Reyes, young, uncertain, searching, followed without question. Far east, beyond ridges and silence, Alina waited. Mara didn't know if she was captive, traitor, or ghost. But she knew one thing: this mission would not end clean. And when the storm in her eyes finally broke, it would not be just the enemy who felt it. Why did the desert always feel louder at night? Mara crouched low on the ridge, scope pressed to her eye, and every sound pressed against her nerves: the scrape of rock under a boot, the faint buzz of insects, the hiss of wind through jagged stone. The silence wasn't empty. It was watching. Below, the convoy wound through the valley, 3 trucks, tarps stretched over cargo that shifted with weight. Guards sat in the back, rifles loose but eyes sharp. Not locals. Too disciplined. Too clean. Myra whispered into comms. 3 vehicles, 10, maybe 12 armed. The commander's voice cracked back through static. Hold position. Observe. Her finger twitched near the trigger. She could have taken 1, maybe 2, but the rest would scatter into the hills, vanish like smoke. Orders were right. Hold. But then she saw it. A flicker of movement beneath one of the tarps as the fabric shifted in the wind. A hand. Small. Pale. Fingers gripping the edge for just a second before disappearing again. Her chest tightened. Not a soldier, not cargo. Someone hidden, someone young. Alina's face slammed into her mind. Her breath caught, her heart stumbled. Was it her? Could it be? Mara, status, the commander pressed. She swallowed. Her voice came out flat, controlled. Convoy continues east, cargo unknown. Her hand shook once. She gripped the rifle harder until the tremor stopped. Reyes, crouched near her, glanced sideways. He'd seen her stiffen. She felt his eyes, the unspoken question hanging heavy between them. She ignored it, kept her scope trained. The convoy rolled on, swallowed by the valley's mouth, leaving behind nothing but dust. They trekked after nightfall, boots whispering against sand, shadows stretching long under the thin slice of moon. The team moved in silence, but silence wasn't peace. It was weight. Hayes broke it first, muttering low as they walked. My wife used to send me tapes, her voice on cassette, said it was better than letters. Letters feel like the past, she said. A voice feels alive. Reyes asked softly, you still listen to them? Hayes's jaw flexed. No, can't, she's remarried now, new life, tapes just ghosts. Mara listened, eyes ahead, steps steady. She didn't have tapes, didn't have letters, just memories of Alina, half broken, half burned. She wondered if her sister's voice would feel alive now or if it too had turned into a ghost. The desert stretched wider, emptier. Stars above shimmered cold. Each step forward dragged her deeper into war and closer to a truth she wasn't ready to meet. Near dawn, they reached ruins half buried in sand. Stone walls cracked, door frames leaning, whispers of an old world swallowed by time. It was their staging point. The commander's order came. We hold here. Recon continues at sundown. The team collapsed into rest. Some dozed against stone. Others ate in silence. Reyes cleaned his rifle with too much focus, hands moving faster than needed. Mara sat apart, back against a wall, pulling her scarf tighter against the chill. She closed her eyes, tried to still her thoughts, failed. Alina's name pulsed inside her skull, steady as heartbeat. She remembered their last night together as children, lying on a roof under stars not unlike these. Alina had asked, do you think the world will ever be safe? Mara had lied, said yes. Now she wondered if Alina remembered that lie. Reyes's voice broke her trance. You didn't tell the commander about the hand in the truck. Her eyes snapped open, sharp. What hand? His gaze was steady, too steady for someone so young. I saw it too, you covered it. A beat of silence stretched. The desert seemed to lean closer, listening. You're mistaken, Mara said finally. Her tone was flat, final. Reyes didn't argue, but his eyes stayed on her longer than they should have, as though he could see the storm she hid. She turned away, staring at the horizon until his gaze finally dropped. Night came sharp, cold. They moved again, slipping eastward, the ruins fatting behind them. The valley narrowed, walls rising steep and jagged. Mara's gut tightened. Choke points were death traps. She raised her hand, signaling halt. The team froze. She scanned, ears straining. The desert was too quiet. Then it came, faint click of metal against stone. A safety released. Ambush, she hissed. Gunfire erupted. Sparks spat from rocks. The team dove for cover, bullets chewing dust into the air. Mara slid behind a boulder, rifle snapping up, returning fire. Her shots were clean, measured, controlled. 2 fell fast. A third ducked low, vanishing into the shadows. Hayes shouted, "Flank left." Reyes scrambled after him, too eager, too exposed. A round cracked near his helmet. He stumbled, panic flashing in his eyes. Mara moved without thought. She slid across open sand, covering him, rifle barking, forcing the enemy back. She shoved Reyes down hard against stone. "Stay low." He gasped, nodding, fear raw in his face. The firefight dragged minutes that felt like hours. Then silence fell, broken only by ragged breath and the hiss of cooling barrels. Bodies lay scattered in shadows. The valley stank of cordite and dust. The commander's voice crackled, "Casualties." "None," Mara replied, chest heaving. Reyes looked at her, eyes wide, gratitude and shame tangled. She ignored it, scanning the dead. Their weapons were clean, their gear marked. Not locals, trained, organized. And among their packs she found it. A photograph. The same as before, Elena's face. Folded, worn, tucked into a pocket like a token. Mara's throat closed. She slipped it into her vest, unseen. Her hands trembled once, then stilled. This wasn't coincidence. Elena wasn't just nearby, she was part of this, either captive or connected. The storm behind Mara's eyes grew darker. Later, by the fire's faint glow, Hayes muttered, "They knew we were coming. Someone's feeding them." Reyes said nothing. His eyes, though, never left Mara. She sat apart again, silent, staring at flames that licked upward before dying into ash. Her mind spun. If Elena was tied to these men, if her face kept surfacing in their pockets, then the truth ahead was far more dangerous than hope. She remembered her father's words, "Use silence, there's power in it." But silence now felt like a blade turning inward. Reyes' voice finally broke it, quiet, careful. "You're hiding something." Mara didn't look at him. "Get some rest." He didn't press, but the suspicion in his eyes was no longer subtle. As the desert swallowed the fire's glow, Mara lay awake, staring at the stars. Her sister's face burned behind her eyelids, each memory now sharpened by the weight of proof. Elena wasn't gone. She was here, tangled in war Mara had sworn to fight. The question wasn't whether she would find her. The question was what truth she would uncover when she did. And whether hope, blooming in her chest, would save her, or destroy everything she'd fought to protect. The desert wasn't empty, it was a graveyard. Bones of old wars jutted from the earth, rusted tank shells, twisted rebar, concrete skeletons of villages erased by fire. Every step forward carried the taste of dust and history, and both clung to the tongue like ash. Mara led the column in silence, her rifle steady, her eyes sweeping the horizon. But inside, the storm clawed at her ribs. Every photograph, every flicker of pale skin beneath tarp, every whisper of Elena. Reyes marched just behind her, footsteps deliberately close, too close. His silence wasn't the obedience of a soldier, it was the weight of suspicion. The commander's voice came sharp in her earpiece. "Satellite confirms a stronghold ahead. Enemy forces embedded. We recon from the ridgeline. No contact until orders." Orders, always orders, but Mara's gut twisted. Stronghold ahead meant risk, yes, but it also meant information. If Elena was tangled in this mess, the answers would be there. Her boots felt heavier with every step. By dusk, they reached the ridge. The stronghold lay sprawled below, an old industrial complex, corrugated roofs patched with metal sheets, concrete walls fortified with sandbags and steel, watchtowers with silhouettes hunched behind scopes, floodlights sweeping arcs over the yard. Mara crawled low, scope pressed to her eye, heart hammering. She counted guards, cataloged weapons, traced patrol patterns, but what stole her breath wasn't the numbers. It was the sound. Faint, almost drowned by wind singing. A voice carried through the still air, soft, broken, but unmistakably human. A woman's voice. Her throat closed. It couldn't be. It was impossible. She pressed the comm. Audio contact, female, inside main structure. The commander's reply came cold. Not our concern. Focus on target assessment. Mara's jaw clenched. Not our concern. But the song threaded into her veins, pulling her like gravity. It wasn't clear, wasn't certain, but in her chest bloomed a wild, fragile hope. Reyes's whisper brushed her ear. You think it's her, don't you? Her head jerked. What are you talking about? You've been chasing ghosts since the valley. You're hiding something, Mara. And now, you hear a voice and you almost break protocol to say it out loud. His eyes burned in the fading light. Not angry, not mocking, just searching. Mara forced steel into her voice. Focus on your job. But inside, her armor cracked. That night they camped further east, tucked into the shadow of stone spires. The stronghold glowed faint behind them, floodlights sweeping like restless eyes. The fire burned low. Reyes sharpened his blade, muttering about wasted strength. Two others argued softly about supplies. The commander sat apart, calm gear hissing faint updates. Reyes sat near Mara, too near, shadows flickering across his face. He spoke low, so only she could hear. I had a sister too, he said. Her hands froze around her canteen. She died in a flood when we were kids. I still think I hear her sometimes. A laugh, a song. Ghosts do that. They trick you, make you chase them. And if you do, he met her eyes. You drag others into the water with you. Mara's chest tightened. She wanted to snap, to cut the conversation dead. But the truth in his words sliced sharper than any blade. Her silence betrayed her. Reyes leaned closer. It's her, isn't it? The woman in the photos, the voice in the compound, it's your sister. Mara's jaw locked. Her knuckles whitened around the canteen. But she didn't deny it. Reyes nodded slowly, as if confirmation had already been carved in her silence. If the commander finds out, you'll be pulled. Or worse, you'll put us all at risk. Mara finally whispered low, raw, she's alive. The words felt like confession and curse. Reyes's face flickered with something she couldn't name, fear maybe, or pity. Then he said nothing more, just sat in silence, the crackle of fire between them. At dawn, orders came. Tomorrow night we strike, hit their supply line first, cut legs before body. The team moved through routine, ammo checks, weapon cleaning, ration counts. But Mara's mind wasn't on steel or powder. It was on that voice, on Alina. As the sun burned high, Mara drifted away under the excuse of scouting. She climbed a ridge overlooking the compound. Through the heat shimmer, she saw movement inside the courtyard. Lines of men, trucks unloading crates. And then one figure, small, hair hidden under cloth, hands bound, pushed across the yard. Mara's breath shattered in her chest. It wasn't clear, too far, too blurred by distance and glare, but everything inside her screamed it was Alina. Her hands shook around the scope, her pulse thundered. The commander's voice cracked over comms. Report, Mara. Her lips parted. She wanted to say it, wanted to scream, she's there. But silence dragged long. Status, the commander snapped. She forced her voice steady. Movement, standard resupply. Copy, return to position. Her throat felt raw, scraped by lies. That night sleep refused her. Every blink brought Alina's face, dirt-streaked, eyes still carrying the same storm of defiance. Mara turned restless against stone until the darkness itself seemed to lean close, whispering, "Do something." Reyes's voice came from the shadows. "You'll break if you hold it in any longer." Mara sat up, glare sharp. "Stay out of it." "You're already in it," he shot back. "If she's alive, if she's in there, you won't wait for orders, you'll move. And if you move, I'm not letting you go alone." His words hung heavy, not loyalty to orders, loyalty to her. For the first time, Mara's mask cracked. She whispered, trembling, "If it's Alina, I can't leave her." Reyes didn't hesitate. "Then we find a way, but not tonight, not with everyone watching." The fire's embers glowed faint, painting his face in soft light. Mara looked at him, too young, too stubborn, yet steady in a way that shook her. She gave the smallest nod. At dawn, the team prepped for the strike, but Mara's decision had already rooted deep, unshakable. Orders would fall tonight, but her path would bend. She would go for Alina. The mission began under moonless dark. The team slipped through ravines, shadows among shadows, closing on the compound supply convoy. Their orders: hit fast, cripple resources, retreat clean. But Mara's pulse wasn't for the convoy. It was for the compound itself. Gunfire erupted as the ambush began. Hayes's explosives lit the night, fire chewing through the first truck. Shouts thundered. Chaos spread. Mara fought like a ghost, rifle spitting measured fire, but her eyes kept dragging to the stronghold beyond. Floodlights flared, sirens howled, guards spilling into the yard. And then over the chaos, she heard it again. A voice faint, a cry, her name torn through the night. "Mara!" She froze, heart detonating. Reyes snapped beside her, "Did you hear?" But she was already moving. She broke from formation, sprinting toward the compound, fire chasing her heels. Bullets snapped past. Shouts rose, but her focus tunneled, only the voice. Only the hope blooming wild and reckless inside her chest. Behind her, Reyes cursed following. The team shouted in comms, confusion cutting through static. The commander's voice roared, "Mara, fall back. That's an order." But Mara didn't hear him, couldn't. Because through the floodlight's glare, she saw her. A figure dragged into the yard, hair matted, wrists bound, face bloodied but unmistakable. Alina. Alive. Gunfire cracked the night open like lightning tearing a storm. Shouts roared from the compound, floodlights slicing across smoke and chaos. But Mara didn't slow. Her boots hammered the earth, lungs burning, heart a wild drum. The world narrowed to a single thread, her sister's face caught in that unforgiving light. Reyes cursed behind her, sprinting hard, rifle barking to cover her reckless rush. "You're out of your mind," he shouted, but his feet never faltered. He was coming with her even into hell. The comms exploded with fury. "Mara, fall back, repeat, fall back." The commander's voice was rage sharpened to steel. But Mara didn't answer, couldn't. The storm inside her drowned everything else. She vaulted a low wall, skidding into shadow as bullets shattered concrete above. Dust rained down. Reyes slammed beside her, panting. His glare cut deep, but his voice stayed low, urgent. "You've got 5 seconds to tell me what the hell you're doing." Mara's breath trembled. Words tore out of her throat, raw. "That's my sister." Reyes stared, eyes wide, face caught between disbelief and something softer, understanding. He didn't argue, didn't waste time with doubt. Instead, he peeked over the wall, scanning angles. "Then we're not dying here. Move when I fire." He rose, rifle spitting fire. Mara surged forward, shadows swallowing her, blood roaring in her ears. The courtyard was a furnace of chaos. Guards scrambled, rifles raised, shouts colliding in the night. Mara slid behind stacked crates, breath ragged, eyes locked on Alina. Her sister stood in the floodlight's cruel center. Bound, beaten, but alive. Her face thinner, bruised, dirt streaking her cheek, but her eyes still burned. That same storm Mara remembered from childhood, the fire that never yielded. For a moment the world broke open. Time slowed. She was 12 again, watching Alina sneak into the orchard after curfew, whispering daring plans into the night. She was 16 again, clinging to Alina's hand at the funeral, promising they'd never lose each other. And then the memory shattered under the crack of a rifle. Alina flinched as a guard yanked her forward. Mara's heart tore. "Move," Reyes shouted, dragging her back into the moment. Mara snapped her rifle up, squeezed, dropped the guard. She sprinted. She crashed into the yard, bullets screaming past. Alina's eyes widened, disbelief flooding her bruised face. "Mara!" Her name whispered like prayer, like salvation. Mara's throat closed, tears stung, but there was no time. She slashed the ropes binding Alina's wrists, pulling her close, gripping her like the world itself was trying to rip them apart. "I've got you," Mara gasped, voice breaking. "I've got you." Alina's fingers clutched her arm, desperate, shaking. "You came." Mara wanted to say everything. "I never stopped looking. I never gave up." But shouts erupted around them, boots pounding closer. Reyes' voice cut sharp. "We've got to move now." He laid down fire, clearing a path toward the wall. Mara shoved Alina ahead, covering with bursts of her own. The three moved as one, chaos clawing at their heels. But the compound wasn't letting go so easily. A searchlight pinned them, blinding. Shouts roared. Gunfire poured like rain. Reyes dove, dragging Alina down. Mara spun, firing until her rifle clicked dry. Click empty. Her chest seized. She yanked for a fresh mag, too slow. A guard closed in, rifle raised, finger tightening on the trigger. Mara's breath froze. Then a flash. The guard jerked back, throat torn, collapsing. Reyes, standing at the far wall, rifle smoking, eyes blazing. The rest of the team was there, pulled in by chaos, fury written across their faces. The commander's glare was pure fire. "Mara, you've compromised the mission." His voice was a knife. "Get her and get out now." They tore through the gap Reyes had blown, sprinting into the desert's black jaws. Bullets chased, shouts echoing, but the team moved like shadows. Only when distance swallowed the compound's lights did they collapse into cover, breaths ragged, bodies trembling. Mara clung to Alina, unable to let go. Her sister's warmth was real, not a ghost, not a photograph, flesh, bone, alive. Alina's whisper broke the night. "You shouldn't have come." Mara pulled back, confusion stabbing. "What?" Alina's eyes shimmered, storm and sorrow mixing. "You don't understand. I'm not supposed to leave." The words felt like ice down Mara's spine. "What are you talking about?" Alina's gaze dropped, shame shadowing her face. "They'll come for me, and for you, you don't know what you've stepped into." Reyes crouched nearby, sweat streaking his brow. "She's right. They'll hunt us now. That wasn't just a stronghold, it was a nest. We've stirred it." The commander's voice cut through, venomous. "Enough. We regroup. We move east. And you," he stabbed a finger at Mara, "you better pray this gamble didn't cost us all." Mara's chest ached, torn between fury and fear. But beneath it all bloomed something she hadn't dared to feel in years. Hope. They marched through the night, silence heavy as stone. Alina walked between Mara and Reyes, her steps weak, body trembling. Mara kept a hand near her, as if touch alone could hold her together. But every glance at Alina's face raised more questions. The bruises, the way she flinched at shadows, the warning in her voice. Mara whispered once when the others were out of earshot, "What happened to you?" Alina's lips trembled. "Not now." "Please, I need to know." Her sister's eyes met hers, haunted, hollow. "You don't need the truth yet, it will break you." Mara's chest twisted. The storm inside her grew darker, heavier. By dawn, exhaustion dragged at their bones. They collapsed into a ravine, stone walls hiding them from sky and drone. The commander finally spoke, voice low but sharp. This mission is compromised. We adapt. Supply lines are secondary now. Priority is survival. Extraction is not guaranteed. His eyes burned into Mara. Your choice put us here. Don't make me choose between you and the team. The words cut, but Mara didn't flinch. She couldn't. Because next to her, Elena shivered under the rising sun, her body fragile, her spirit dim. Mara tightened her grip on her sister's hand. Quietly, fiercely, she whispered, I won't lose you again. Elena's eyes shimmered, tears unshed, but her voice was soft, broken. You might not have a choice. The desert wind howled, carrying her words into silence. That night when the others slept, Mara sat awake, staring at the stars. The desert stretched endless, shadows shifting, winds restless. Reyes slid beside her, voice low. So, she's alive, but something tells me that's not the miracle you hoped for. Mara's throat tightened. She's hiding something. Reyes nodded slowly. Secrets break people and teams. Mara's eyes burned, but her voice steadied. Then I'll carry it, alone. Reyes studied her, then shook his head. That's not how storms work. They break whatever tries to hold them, even you. His words lingered, heavy, true. But Mara looked at Elena, sleeping uneasily beside the fire. And in her chest, against all reason, hope still bloomed. The wind shifted. A sound whispered through the night. A radio crackle, faint, broken, coming from Elena's torn clothes. Mara froze, reached, pulled free a small transmitter. Her blood ran cold. Elena stirred, eyes fluttering open, fear stark. Mara, don't. But it was too late. Mara held the device in her hand, the red light blinking slow, steady. A signal. Not a prisoner's chain. A beacon. The red light blinked like a heartbeat. Slow, steady, unforgiving. Mara's hand trembled around the transmitter, her pulse thundering in her ears. The others stirred awake, eyes narrowing, weapons shifting instinctively toward the object in her palm. The commander's voice sliced the silence. What is that? Elena's voice cracked, raw with fear. Don't, please don't. Reyes's rifle rose half an inch, eyes sharp, trained not on Mara but on Elena. It's a tracker. The word dropped heavy, like stone into water. Ripples of dread spread through the team. The commander stepped forward, jaw tight, rage simmering under his controlled tone. She led them to us. Mara's chest seized. No, she didn't. She's carrying an active beacon, Reyes said flatly, though his voice wasn't cruel, just cold with the weight of reality. Elena shook her head, tears streaking dirt down her face. I didn't choose this. They put it on me. I swear. The commander cut her off, voice rising. We are compromised because of her, because you, his eyes stabbed into Mara, brought her. The firelight danced against steel, against fury. Mara's throat burned. She wanted to shout, to claw truth into the air, but all she could whisper was, she's my sister. The commander's expression hardened, unreadable, before he turned to the others. Pack up, we move, 10 minutes. The team tore through gear with silent urgency, faces carved from stone. Every glance toward Elena was sharp, distrustful. She shrank under their eyes, clutching her knees, her breath shaky, broken. Mara crouched beside her, voice low, trembling with restrained desperation. Tell me the truth, everything, right now. Elena's eyes glistened, storm swirling inside. If I tell you, you'll hate me. I don't care, I need the truth. Her sister's lips parted, but words stuck, choking her. Finally, a whisper slipped out. I wasn't a prisoner. The world tilted. Mara's breath caught, like the ground had vanished beneath her boots. Elena's voice trembled, fractured. At first, yes, they took me. But then I made choices to survive, to stay alive. They trusted me. I helped them, passed messages, kept them alive in ways you don't want to understand. Mara's heart slammed. Each word was a blade. Elena's whisper cut deeper. Mara, I became part of them. Her chest split open, disbelief roaring. No, you're lying, you're broken. They made you say this. Alina grabbed her hand, fierce, desperate. I'm not lying. And now that you've dragged me out, they'll never stop coming. You don't know what you've done. Mara's breath shattered. She wanted to scream, deny, rewind the world. But the transmitter blinked steady in her palm, and its light was merciless. They moved east, shadows swallowing them, moonlight fractured on jagged stone. Every step felt heavier, burdened not just by gear but by silence, thick, suffocating silence. Reyes kept pace near Mara, his eyes hard. He spoke low, sharp. You risked the mission for her, and now she admits she was one of them. Mara's voice cracked. She's my sister. She's a liability. His words struck like bullets. And if it comes down to you or the team, the commander won't hesitate. Don't make me choose either. The weight of his words crushed her, but Mara's hand brushed Alina's shoulder, guiding her forward. She couldn't let go, not again. By dawn, they collapsed into a ravine, exhaustion gnawing at bone. The commander set a rotating watch. No one spoke. The only sound was wind cutting through stone and the relentless blink of the transmitter. Mara sat apart with Alina, shadows clinging to them both. She pressed her forehead to her sister's, whispering through tears. Why didn't you run? Why didn't you come home? Alina's whisper trembled. Because home stopped existing the day they took me, and you wouldn't have recognized me anymore. Mara's heart clenched. I don't care who you became, you're mine, you're my blood. Alina shook her head, tears wetting her dirt-streaked face. Blood isn't enough, not here, not anymore. The words hollowed her chest, but still Mara held her, as if holding her could rewrite the truth. Hours later, Reyes shook Mara awake. His face was pale, jaw tight. They're coming. She bolted upright. Shadows moved along the horizon, vehicles, headlights flickering faint in the distance, dust curling under their wheels. The transmitter's light blinked faster now, pulsing urgent, taunting. The commander's voice snapped. They've got our position, we move now. The team scrambled, gear thrown on, weapons checked. Alina stood frozen, fear hollowing her. Mara grabbed her hand, dragging her into motion. But the commander's glare stopped her cold. No, she slows us down, she draws them, we cut her loose. The words pierced like shrapnel. Mara's throat tore. No, she comes. The commander's face hardened. I won't sacrifice 6 soldiers for your sister's sins. The desert wind screamed between them, carrying dust, carrying silence. The team froze, caught in the storm of choice. Reyes' voice cut low, measured. If we leave her, she dies. If we keep her, maybe we all do. Mara's chest heaved, fury and fear colliding. She leveled her rifle, not at the commander, not at the team, at the ground between them. Her hands shook, her heart a war drum. She's coming. The commander's eyes burned with fire. For a heartbeat, Mara thought he'd draw on her. But then he hissed through clenched teeth. Then you carry her fate, alone. The words were a curse, a sentence. And then they were moving again, sprinting into desert shadows, enemy trucks closing in behind. The chase began. Engines roared across stone, headlights slicing the night. Gunfire cracked, dirt spraying at their heels. The team moved like hunted animals, scrambling through ravines, vaulting jagged rock. Mara clutched Alina, half dragging, half carrying. Every muscle screamed, lungs burning, but she refused to let go. Reyes fired bursts behind, keeping the trucks at bay. Hayes cursed, detonating charges that rocked stone loose, slowing the pursuit. But the enemy pressed closer, the beacon's cruel pulse guiding them like wolves to blood. Finally, the commander snapped, "Give me the transmitter." Mara hesitated, breath ragged. Now. She ripped it from her pocket, shoving it into his hand. He hurled it into the ravine. Seconds later, a blast shook the earth, Hayes' detonator ripping stone down, burying the device beneath a landslide. The blinking light vanished. For the first time in hours, silence fell. But it wasn't victory, it was only pause. The team slumped in the cover of a canyon, lungs dragging fire, bodies trembling. The commander's glare burned holes into Mara. One more stunt and I end this, blood or not. Mara said nothing. She only curled closer to Alina, holding her sister as if the world itself tried to pry them apart. Alina's whisper broke the silence. You should have left me. Mara's voice cracked. Never. Her sister's eyes shimmered, storm and sorrow colliding. Then you'll fall with me. The words lingered, heavy, terrible, and true. And in the canyon's shadows, as the team caught their breath, a distant echo rolled through the night, rotors, helicopters, closing in. The hunt wasn't over. It was only beginning. The sound came first. A low vibration through stone, rattling dust loose from canyon walls. Then the thrum grew louder, rotors chopping the night, air shuddering with their power. Mara's heart kicked against her ribs. Helicopters, more than one. The commander's voice snapped like a whip. Positions now. The squad scattered, movements drilled and sharp despite exhaustion. Reyes dropped prone behind a jagged rock, sighting his rifle skyward. Reyes unshouldered a tube launcher, muttering curses under his breath. Mara pulled Alina down, shielding her with her own body as floodlights flared, washing the canyon in blinding white. Shadows shrieked away, leaving nowhere to hide. The commander's shout cut through the roar, fire. Rockets streaked skyward, exploding near one chopper. The bird veered hard, tail smoking, spiraling away with a mechanical scream. But the others pressed on, searchlights sweeping, guns rattling bursts that chewed the canyon walls. Stone shattered, dirt rained, Mara's ears rang with thunder. She dragged Alina deeper into cover, chest heaving. Her sister's voice was raw, shaking. They won't stop, not until I'm back in their hands. Mara grabbed her shoulders, fierce. You're not going back. Alina's eyes burned with sorrow. You don't understand. To them, I'm not just a prisoner, I'm a promise, a tool they built. Mara's stomach turned, fear clawing. But before she could demand more, a spray of bullets stitched the rock above them, forcing silence. The team fought like wolves cornered. Reyes picked targets clean, each shot deliberate, mechanical. Hayes's launcher roared again, clipping a rotor, sending fire trailing across the sky. But the canyon betrayed them. Its high walls turned into a trap, sound bouncing, making it impossible to tell where shots came from until the air split with impact. The commander roared over comms, "We move, South Ridge, double time." Mara grabbed Alina's wrist, hauling her up. They sprinted, boots hammering dirt, floodlights tearing after them. A spotlight locked on, blinding white. Reyes barked down. Gunfire raked the canyon floor. Mara hurled herself over Alina, dirt biting her face, breath seared from her lungs. The world shook with violence. When silence returned, the commander's voice cut sharp. We can't outrun birds. We hold or we die. They collapsed into an alcove beneath jagged stone, breaths burning, ears full of rotor thunder. Hayes's voice cracked with frustration. We can't keep this up. They'll pin us, pick us apart. Reyes's eyes flicked to Alina, unless she calls them off. The words struck like a hammer. The team's eyes turned on her sharp, accusing. Alina shook, backing against the wall. I can't, they don't listen, I was never in charge. Reyes's jaw tightened. But you know how they think, you know their codes, their tactics, you fed them once, you can turn it now. Alina's breath faltered, shame tearing her apart. It doesn't work like that. The commander's glare was knives. Then you are useless and dead weight. Mara snapped, voice raw. She's my sister. The commander's fury exploded. She's a liability. You risked the team once, now twice. Do you want all of us in body bags? Silence cut sharp. Floodlights swept the canyon mouth, shadows shifting closer. Alina's whisper cracked through the tension. I can help, just not the way you want. All eyes turned. Her hands shook, but her voice steadied. I know where they'll push us. I know their hunting patterns. If you follow me, I can get us out before they close the trap." The commander's face was iron. "And if this is another betrayal?" Elena's eyes dropped. "Then you put a bullet in me yourself." The canyon breathed heavy silence. Finally he spat. "One chance, move." Elena led them into winding gullies, paths that seemed like dead ends until the walls split, revealing narrow routes hidden by shadow. The helicopters swept past overhead, their lights chasing empty rock. Mara stayed at her side, heart torn between pride and terror. Each time Elena turned, guiding them deeper, Mara saw flashes of the sister she remembered, the fierce spark, the quiet strength. But behind it burned something darker, shaped by years in captivity. At last they stumbled into a hollow shielded by stone. The helicopters thundered past, fatting, their search diverted. The team collapsed, gasping, sweat and dust streaking skin. The commander's eyes bored into Elena. "Why help now? Why not before?" Elena's face cracked. "Because before, I didn't believe I deserved saving." The words cut through Mara's chest like shrapnel. Night deepened, silence creeping in after the storm of rotors. The team set watch. The commander's trust was paper-thin, Reyes' eyes still sharp with doubt. But for the first time since the transmitter's discovery, there was space to breathe. Mara sat with Elena, huddled under stone. Her sister's hands twisted in her lap, restless, haunted. Mara whispered, "You saved us." Elena's voice was hollow. "I saved myself. Don't twist it into something it is. You could have led them right to us, but you didn't." Elena's eyes flicked up, pain swirling. "Because of you, not them, only you." Tears burned Mara's throat. She wanted to believe that meant redemption. She wanted to believe Elena could be forgiven. But the words the commander had spoken earlier echoed like prophecy. Blood isn't enough. Near dawn, the first crack of gunfire shattered silence. The squad snapped awake, weapons drawn. Shadows moved fast along the ridge, ground troops now closing in. The helicopters had flushed them and the wolves came on foot. Mara shoved Elena flat as bullets tore the stone above. "Stay down." The team returned fire, canyon erupting in thunder. Grenades rattled, smoke billowed, dirt sprayed like rain. Reyes shouted through grit teeth, "They're pushing from both sides." The commander barked, "Hold the choke point." But the canyon groaned under bombardment. Explosions tore at stone, walls trembling. A fissure cracked wide above, pebbles raining down. Mara's stomach dropped. The whole canyon wall was giving. "Elena, move," she screamed, dragging her. But stone split with a roar. The ground shook, a thunderclap of earth collapsing. Dust blinded, sound deafened, the world swallowed itself. When the smoke cleared, Mara coughed, vision swimming. The squad was scattered. The canyon wall had caved, splitting them. And Elena, her sister, was gone, buried beyond a mountain of rubble. Mara's scream tore raw from her chest. "Elena." The only answer was echo. And the enemy closing in. Dust clogged her lungs. The world was a smear of gray and red, grit grinding her teeth, her eyes burning. Mara's ears rang, the collapse still echoing inside her skull. "Elena," she screamed again, raw, broken. No answer, only gunfire cracking through the haze, ricochets sparking off stone. Shapes moved in the smoke, enemy silhouettes, rifles raised. Instinct pulled Mara low, her own weapon barking, fire spitting in bursts. One shape fell, another ducked back. But her chest wasn't in the fight, it was on the other side of the rubble, where her sister was buried. The commander's voice rasped through comms, barely cutting through static. "Fall back, regroup." "No," Mara's voice was fierce, almost feral. "Elena, under there." Silence answered. Then Reyes, his tone strained. "Mara, we can't hold if we stay." The commander cut sharp. "She made her bed, we move or we die." The words detonated inside her. Cold, ruthless, true maybe, but unacceptable. Mara pressed her body against the rubble, clawing at stone with bloodied fingers. She didn't care if nails tore, skin split. I'm not leaving her. Bullets tore past, rock chips slicing her cheek. Reyes, cursed, dropped beside her, firing blind into the haze. Then I guess I'm not either. Mara's throat tightened. She didn't thank him, couldn't. There was no time. Together they pulled stone, heaved rock, choked on dust. Every second was thunder. Then faint, a voice, hoarse, strangled but real. Mara. Her heart jolted. Elena, hold on, I'm here. The collapse had carved a jagged crevice, narrow but passable. Smoke curled through, flickering with light. Mara shoved herself into it, scraping shoulders on stone, ignoring the sting. On the other side, Elena. Bruised, blood-streaked but alive, pinned beneath a slab of rock that pressed her leg to the earth. Mara dropped beside her, hands trembling. I've got you, I'll get this off. Elena's eyes, glassy with pain, locked on hers. You shouldn't be here. Shut up, Mara's voice cracked. She braced, pushed at the slab. It shifted an inch, then crashed back down, unmoved. Her muscles screamed, but she shoved again, grunting, teeth bared. Nothing. Reyes squeezed in, face streaked with soot. On 3, 1, 2, heave. The rock groaned, lifted just enough for Elena to drag herself free with a cry that shredded Mara's chest. She collapsed into Mara's arms, trembling, clutching her tight. For a second, just a second, the world vanished. It was only them, two sisters torn apart by war, now held together by desperation. Then the gunfire crashed back. Shouts echoed, boots pounding closer. The commander's voice thundered through comms. We're cut off. We need an exit now. Elena pushed weakly at Mara's chest. Listen, you have to go, leave me. No. You don't understand. They'll keep coming as long as I breathe, they'll hunt. I'm their prize, their weapon, their leverage. You carry me, you all die. Mara's head shook violently. I don't care. I'm not losing you again. Elena's eyes brimmed, voice trembling. I betrayed people, Mara. I spoke when they forced me. Every time I thought of you and it broke me. But I saved who I could. I bent truths, I delayed strikes, I whispered warnings when no one watched. And now, I'm done running. Mara's breath shattered in her chest. This was the truth she hadn't wanted, hadn't dared imagine. Her sister, neither captive nor traitor, but both, broken into a tool, yet fighting quietly, unseen. Her storm-filled eyes burned. Then let me carry that weight for you, let me take you home. But Elena's hand gripped hers, fierce despite shaking. No, you take them home. That's your garden, Mara, not me. The enemy broke through the haze. Shadows swarmed, rifles blazing. Reyes fired until his mag clicked dry, swore, reloaded with shaking hands. The commander's voice was ragged, shouting orders Mara barely heard. Hayes screamed something about flanking fire. It didn't matter. Mara's focus tunneled to Elena. Elena leaned close, lips at her ear. When they rush, I'll draw them. You take your team and run, don't look back. Mara froze, horror slamming into her. No, absolutely not. But Elena smiled through blood, soft, tired, unbroken. Storms in your eyes, Mara, hope in your chest. That's always been you. Let me be the storm this time. Then, before Mara could stop her, Elena tore the sidearm from Reyes' belt and lurched to her feet. Wait, Mara's cry was too late. Elena staggered into the open, firing, screaming words in the enemy's tongue. The gun cracked, echoing down the canyon. Floodlights swung, locking on her. Bullets raked, tearing the ground, sparking off stone. She didn't stop. She drew every eye, every barrel. A lone figure, broken but blazing, holding back the wolves. The commander's voice barked, "Move, damn it, now." Reyes seized Mara's arm, dragging her bodily. She fought, kicked, screamed, but the weight of the squad carried her. She saw Elena fall, saw her swallowed by dust and fire. And then silence. They stumbled through a side gully, guided by Reyes' compass and sheer desperation. Gunfire echoed behind, growing faint. The sky above was paling with dawn, ash, and smoke curling into light. When at last they collapsed in the shelter of a ridge, silence wrapped them like a shroud. No one spoke. Hayes's face was streaked with tears he pretended weren't there. The commander's jaw was stone, but his eyes wouldn't meet Mara's. Reyes just sat, breathing ragged, staring at the ground. Mara stood apart, the horizon bleeding red before her. Her chest felt hollow, carved out, but in the hollow something fragile remained, a seed planted by Alina's sacrifice. Storms raged behind her eyes, but in her chest, still impossibly, blooms of hope. She heard her father's voice again, as if whispered by the wind. Sometimes dignity doesn't speak, it simply acts. Mara closed her eyes, let the silence stretch. When she opened them, the horizon burned brighter, and she knew Alina's storm had cleared the way. The world would never know her name, but Mara would carry it quietly, silently, always. The screen of memory froze there. A soldier standing alone at dawn, storms and gardens both alive within her. And then fade to black.